Hi guys, it's Matt here from MCS-books, and today I'm here to do another Femmeuary engagement. Now, you might have seen in the title that I said that I was going to do the BookTube for Beginners tag. Well, you may have a few expectations of what this video may be, but I'm going to break those expectations, and there is a reason for that, which you'll see throughout this video. Now, I was tagged by the lovely Miriam at Between Lines in Life. I will link her video and her channel down below. And the tag was created by Michael at Catalyst Reads. Again, I will link his video down below. So there were 10 questions, I think, to this tag, and I am not going to answer any of them. I kind of joke, I will answer them, I will just be typing my answers in the box below where you can read them. What I want to do instead today is engage with something that Miriam brought up and that Michael, of course, opened up for discussion within the creation of his tag. If you go down and look at question 6, it says, how many is too many? As in, how many subscribers will overwhelm you? Or how many subscriptions will overwhelm you as a booktuber? And I thought this was really interesting, and Miriam began talking about it in her video in a way that sparked my interest. And of course, as a cultural analyst, I want to take it from a more social theory perspective, and I want to examine why it could be overwhelming for booktubers to have X amount of subscribers or to have X amount of subscriptions to various channels. So today, I'm only going to be using one theorist. His name is Erving Goffman, and he is quite a racist old man, but that's because of the context that he was writing in. So if you kind of see past that and keep him very much deeply embedded in his context, and then just extract his theory, because it's a pretty decent theory, then you can work with him quite comfortably. So I'm going to be using one of his essays in particular, which is called The Nature of Deference and Demeanour. And I'm going to use his theory to look at how BookTube creates certain expectations which could then be overwhelming to some. So this is why I wanted you to think about your expectations of coming into this video and how I'm now going to flip them on their head by doing something different to what is in the title. So let's start from the beginning of his essay. Goffman discusses how there are rules of conduct in every social situation that we are in. So next time you're in any sort of social situation, just kind of imagine, what are the rules of conduct here? These rules of conduct, most of the time, are sort of unwritten, unspoken rules that just through your way of living and moving through the world, you learn automatically. They are socially constructed and socially learned. Now, these rules of conduct then affect the individual in two ways, either directly through obligations or indirectly through expectations. Obligations are usually built from substantive rules, which will be either rules of the area that you're in that have been put into place by the governing body, or your moral rules and ethics as to how you feel that you should behave. So the second way is indirectly, through expectations. These expectations can affect you in two ways, whether it be the expectations that people have of you based on how you act and react in situations, or the expectations you have other people based on how you feel people should be acting and reacting in these spaces. So when we're looking at expectations, these expectations usually derive from an image that you wish to create of yourself. And through the creation of this image, you are subsequently honor bound to retain and sustain this image. So then when you sort of break this image or break the rules of conduct, you are not only discrediting yourself and your image, but you're also discrediting the others by going against their expectations of you. And how does this fit into the BookTube world? Let's think about how booktubers create an image of themselves, which then subsequently create expectations. So Goffman also says that there are two types of social conduct. The first is symmetrical. Now this is the social conduct between two friends. When they're both on the same level, one will treat the other and the other will treat them in the same way. Then there are also asymmetrical rules of conduct. Now this is with perhaps a boss and their assistant. is that the boss behaves in a certain way with expectation of the assistant to treat the boss in a special way, but they are not equal. They are on different grounds. And the assistant does not expect the boss to treat them in the same way that they should be treating the boss. So when starting out on BookTube, of course, you will be a little BookTube channel with few subscribers, not until you start getting the ball rolling. And during this sort of phase, you will have both symmetrical and asymmetrical practices. Symmetrically, you will be watching and commenting on other small booktubers with the expectation that they will then be doing the same with you. Because ultimately, you're in the same position, so therefore you are working together symmetrically. And asymmetrically, you'll be working with the bigger booktubers. Now through this, you'll be watching their videos and commenting on their videos. You might expect them to reply, not all the time, but you definitely do not expect them to be commenting and watching on all of your videos. So there is an imbalance here between the two positions. And of course, in any social structure, you would hope to be moving upwards. So as a booktuber, you would be hoping that your channel would be growing and evolving, and that you'd be gaining more and more subscribers. So then, how many is too many? When is that overwhelming? Let's go back to this idea of demeanor. Now, demeanor is how you portray yourself or how people see you. It is the self-expression of desirable attributes. So when presenting yourself in your videos, you'll be wanting to be engaging, you'll be wanting to be interesting. When you're commenting on other people's videos, you will want to be saying stuff in order to evoke a response because you want to be communicating. This is your self-expression. This is your trying to look like a good booktuber, if there is any such thing. And this is your demeanor. So people will therefore see that demeanor and make assumptions as to how interactable you are, how open and how welcoming and how friendly and how fun and exciting and interesting and all these positive adjectives you are. However, with demeanor, the individual is never allowed to verbally say that he possesses all these good qualities. So you are only able to enact them. And that is why you will comment, you will like, you will get into conversations, you'll tweet, you'll do all these extra things, because you can't say, I am a good booktuber, you should watch me. It's not how it works. You need to create a demeanor by expressing actions in order for other people to see this demeanor. And through this demeanor, you are constantly hoping to then have deference. Deference, according to Goffman, is a symbol of appreciation from one person to another person or from that person to an object. Now, an individual usually and very naturally always desires deference. They will want to earn it and they will want to deserve deference. However, it is not acceptable to give deference to yourself. So therefore, you must always seek it through others, hence why you present a good demeanor, which people respond to by giving you deference. Now, through the way that our social upbringing has worked, all of this stuff happens without you even realizing, without you even knowing, and without even thought, and it is absolutely acceptable. It is absolutely natural. So let's talk about perhaps being a bigger booktuber and then the difficulties that may come from this, or why many people who then start to have more subscribers find it overwhelming. This is all because of the expectations. You have created a demeanor to push you up into a position, most oftentimes a position of power. Now, the deference that you receive, oftentimes when you were a smaller booktuber, you were able to return, therefore it was symmetrical. But as soon as it becomes asymmetrical, you are put into a more difficult position, because suddenly there are so many expectations put on how you should behave because of the demeanor that you have projected previously when you were a smaller channel. These expectations then create obligations. You are now obligated to sustain the demeanor that you had once projected, but it becomes a lot more difficult because suddenly there are a lot more people and you cannot equally balance the social interactions that you have with so many more people. So suddenly you're in a position where you don't know how to act anymore because the rules have changed. You are not able to keep symmetrical and balanced interactions. You have to be asymmetrical. However, because you have created a demeanor originally that was symmetrical, the subscribers who were used to this will then expect you to sustain this. New subscribers, of course, don't have the same level of expectations because they will only see the current demeanour of you in this position, and their expectations will remain asymmetrical. However, what happens to the ones that are symmetrical? How can you, as a bigger channel, sustain the same level of commitment to BookTube that you had when you were a smaller channel? Once these expectations are given to you, how can you keep up to these sudden obligations without breaking these expectations? Well, theoretically, it's impossible, and that's why it may seem so overwhelming, because you will then have to adjust yourself, and you will then have to change your own sort of idea of who you want to be and who you want to be perceived as. And then by redeveloping yourself and your identity, then new expectations will be given on you. And the goal is to then hopefully project yourself in a way that the expectations are ones that you can keep up to. So in fact, I think the most difficult and possibly overwhelming part of BookTube would be that in-between stage, when you are perhaps not still a small channel that you once were, but you are not quite the big channel that people become used to seeing so much. You are in that transition phase, when you are trying to create this new persona and this new identity and this new demeanour, and for your viewers to then also be adjusting to the sort of deference and the asymmetry of their relationship with you. So I feel that, in all honesty, to answer question 6 that Michael from Catalyst Reads created, there is no limit. There is no too many subscribers to become overwhelming. All it is the process between changing that could be overwhelming. And of course, for every different person, this process will happen at different times. It will depend on your work outside of BookTube, maybe your studies, maybe how much time you dedicate to YouTube itself. All of these different things will affect the transition phase, and therefore it will affect how overwhelming it could be. And of course, this is just me applying one theory to the situation. But what I like most about doing this is that it allows me to kind of see and understand the entire process, which then enables me to sort of act accordingly within it. Now, of course, I am still very much a small BookTube channel, so at the moment, this isn't affecting me. The only way it is affecting me now, these sort of decisions, is by my choosing of what demeanour I want to project. So I am most certainly interacting so much more with other smaller BookTubes because I really appreciate and I really value these symmetrical sort of social balances. Because the moment it becomes asymmetrical, one of my fears is that I then give too many expectations to somebody which is unfair to them. For example, let's take Femmeuary. Femmeuary was created by Lauren in the Books, and she wants to engage and get people talking about women. Women writers, women filmmakers, women in all aspects, and just celebrate the woman. And I, of course, was absolutely on board with this. And I am still on board with this. As you can see, I'm still doing these Femmeuary videos, because it's something that I'm very passionate about. Now, one thing that I am getting disappointed about is because of my expectations. Now, one of the things that Lauren in the Books said when she was creating this sort of Femmeuary was that she was going to be really active on Twitter, on Instagram, and on YouTube, that she really wanted to get involved with Femmeuary discussions and everything. However, the case isn't actually quite true, or she is not really interacting with many people who are making these Femmeuary videos. Every now and then she will do, of course, when she can, but it's not to the extent that I thought she was, because of the way that she presented herself. She presented this demeanour, and then from that I had these expectations which are now not being met, and of course, two people are being discredited. Me for having too high expectations and her for not keeping to these expectations I had on her, which is completely unfair. Of course, it's absolutely natural, but it is unfair. So that's something that I'm constantly considering when diving into these asymmetrical social interactions, and that I feel I need to then check what sort of expectations I'm putting on people. And this also then goes to greater world, like what sort of expectations do we put on celebrities, and how do we then react when they don't live up to these expectations? Is that fair? And it makes you think a lot about all these different situations and how you present yourself and how you come to terms with feelings that you get when expectations aren't met. And while it could be a very skeptical worldview, I think sometimes it's useful to actually understand why you're feeling a certain way so that you can then move on from it and not be disappointed anymore. So yes, I think I kind of lost track of what I was actually trying to say in this video by getting a bit distracted there. But I hope you found some sense and something interesting within this discussion, and let me know your views. I'm so interested in what your opinions are within this theory. And of course, if you didn't quite understand the theory, then I'm sorry, I probably didn't explain it very well, and I'll be right there in the comments section to answer any questions that you may have. But let me know what you are thinking, and let me ask you from a gender perspective. How do you interpret a woman within any social situation and the demeanour that she then has to create and the expectations that are then put on her? Do you think a woman in any sort of social situation that involves a man has the symmetrical social conduct? Or do you think, because of the way our society works, it will always be asymmetrical? So that's something that you can think about, and I hope this evokes more discussion either in the comments or in other people's videos. So if you like this video, you can always give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet. And I'll see you next time for another video. Bye bye!